Strap in for the world's fastest half hour. You're on the Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And brought to you by Hercules Tires and Grunt Style Apparel. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Herbert and Marty Huff.
This is the Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for stopping by our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. U.S. Nationals champions join us today. Two-time and back-to-back funny car winner J.R. Todd will be here, and Top Fuel victor Terry McMillen stops by as well. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of the Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast and around the world, this is the Straight Line on Drag Racing at MRN.com. And along with four-time IHRA Top Fuel champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert, I am Marty Huff, as we are over with the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis. And man, what a great weekend of racing at Lucas Oil Raceway. Big congratulations, and as advertised, coming up, Terry McMillen and J.R. Todd will join us. Other winners in the pro categories, Tanner Gray, in an amazing career so far.
Yeah. Well, he ran the deal. Lowy, number one qualifier, yeah. Right? Lowy T top speed, won the race. So, yeah, I mean, what can you say? Yeah. Great job by those guys, the Gray Motorsport team, right over here down the street from us in North Carolina.
Yeah, and probably the biggest thing is what he wanted to accomplish was to go more rounds than Greg Anderson to keep him behind and have that number one spot going into the playoffs.
Yep.
But and not only did he accomplish that, but he also went all the rounds, won everything, and now is a U.S. Nationals champion along with his dad. There's not a whole lot of people that can say that.
Well, that's true. So, yeah, very good job for that Gray Motorsports team, absolutely. And then Ellie Tonglet wins his way in the motorcycle division. Yeah. Steve Johnson, our guest last week, gets into the top 10. Not only gets in the top 10, gets in comfortably in number 8 spot. Yeah. And great to see Steve Johnson getting it done over there at Indy as well. So, yeah, we had some good times. Looking forward to talking to J.R. Todd and Terry McMillen today on the show.
Yeah, Terry McMillen. What an incredible story. A guy that has been an independent campaigner for most of his time in NHRA. Also has done a lot of drag racing on both sides of the street, on IHRA, NHRA. A guy that a couple years ago said, hey, I'm done with this. It's just too expensive. We just don't have our act together. We're just going to shut it down. And Don Schumacher actually came by and said, hey, let's get you some help over here and let's get you down the road. And the result is he's a U.S. Nationals champion. An incredible story.
Well, the car's been running better. I mean, it's been running good, actually, the last couple of years. Rob Wedlin has went over there and kind of really helped turn things around. He's a definitely accomplished crew chief and doing a very good job, with what they have. Terry, occasionally they'll have trouble, but I mean, they don't have the budget to be throwing a new crankshaft at it every couple runs and all the new parts that some of the other people have. So to win this race, I guarantee you means a tremendous amount to anyone, but it means a whole lot to Terry McMillen. So we'll get his story on that here a little bit later. I'm sure he's not come down at all. I texted him on Monday and he texted me back. He said, man, I just can't even believe it. So pretty exciting weekend definitely for him.
Yeah, no question about it. And he's an excitable guy. So I'm guessing when we talk to him, he's going to be one fired up guy. Speaking of fired up, the guy that's on the Racing Electronics Hotline is going to join us next. J.R. Todd, two-time winner of Funny Car and U.S. Nationals champion. He will be with us next.
The newest, most interactive track in NASCAR.
New garage and infield experience. New finish line location. New seats. New driver access. New Gatorade victory lane. New everything.
Is now in Phoenix. Let's celebrate with the semifinal.
Just about anything can happen when you have a track like Phoenix. It's the place to be. History making right there.
The Can-Am 500 and opening weekend of ISM Raceway, November 9th, 10th, 11th. Buy the best tickets now at ismraceway.com.
MRN.com. Original online audio, video, and digital content. Need the latest information on each week's races? Check out the MRN.com Race Center. Need to find your local radio station for MRN original programs and Camping World Truck, Xfinity, and Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series races? Go to Stations on MRN.com. All the latest NASCAR news and opinion pieces, race schedules, driver standings, and archives of MRN programs, MRN race broadcasts, and so much more. MRN.com.
Hi, this is Mike Bagley. Join me and the rest of the MRN crew every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. We'll put a bow on the weekend's action and get you ready for the upcoming race with the biggest names in the sport.
As you look at that particular race, that's been one of our best races over the years, and I think every driver in the garage is looking forward to racing this particular package.
Hear exclusive interviews, expert analysis, as well as stuff you won't hear anywhere else.
Oh yeah, good job, guys. Good job.
It's NASCAR Live this Tuesday night at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Appreciate you being here on MRN.com this week. It is The Straight Line, and joining us on the Racing Electronics Hotline right now, there's not many people that can call themselves back-to-back U.S. Nationals champion. This guy can. He's the driver of the DHL funny car for Coletta Motorsports and back-to-back U.S. Nationals champion. J.R. Todd joins us. J.R., thanks so much for the time. I know it's a busy week. We appreciate your time.
Hey, guys, no problem. Thanks for having me on again.
Hey, JR, that was a big one, man, bringing down the thing. And you didn't leave a lot on the table at Indy. With, number one qualifier, you had, low ET and win the race. Man, you weren't leaving much for anybody else there.
Yeah, you can at the big go. Doug, we tested there the week before, and we had some really good numbers there, the runs we made. And then in qualifying, it was funny being in the lounge after some of those qualifying runs and hearing Jono and Todd Smith talk like, man, we didn't expect to run that good. But, yeah, it was an awesome weekend all around for that DHL Wix Phillips Toyota for sure. That was one, that's the way you want to go out and do it for sure.
When the weather is like it was most of the weekend, JR, it was really hot, really muggy. The numbers were off the charts. The corrected altitude was just enormous. Does that change your mindset when you're going up to the line at any point, knowing, hey, I may have to pedal this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was second round. The track just kind of went away, and that also kind of goes back to the track prep as well. But you hear all the top fuel cars in front of you out there smoking the tires and not putting up big numbers, and then the first couple pairs of funny cars in front of us were doing the same thing. So it's like, all right, hopefully they got this thing backed off enough or we can just slide it down the track. And we were racing Robert Height and Jimmy Prox. You can't back it off that much. And sure enough, we got past half track. I'm like, man, we're home free. Then it goes out there and blows the tires off and puts a couple cylinders out. And I just kept my foot in it the whole time and expected Robert to blow him by us. And it never happened. But, yeah, you always roll up there when it's hot and nasty like that with that in the back of your mind. Be ready to get that thing down the track any way possible.
And J.R. Connie Coletta's had some, he's definitely had some success at Indy, and then you going out there winning in the funny car, and then Doug Coletta's in the top field final right behind you. What, without, man, I don't want to pull against Trey McMillen because I was glad to see him win, but it kind of would have been pretty cool to see both Coletta cars in the winner's circle there at Indy too.
Yeah, absolutely. With Dougie, I don't think he's ever won there before, and being that close to a Coletta double up, which we've never done before. We've been so close in years past with, I think Dal and I almost did it a handful of times. And that's something we want to do so badly, and to see Dougie down and out like that after the final, that was a bummer for sure. But going back to winning the funny car final and seeing the smile on Connie's face after that was pretty awesome because you don't see a smile like that on Connie's face too often.
No, and that's for sure. And I think one of the things is he was happy that you won and that he was going to add to his Wally collection. But I also think he was watching the pig pile there at the start line, which was usually there's a mosh pit during or after a Coletta win, but that was pretty epic.
Yeah, that that was pretty big. I guess they ramped things up there for the big go. But yeah, it's awesome to give all those guys something to celebrate about. I mean, on race day after Richie Crampton's guys, after they lost first round, I mean, they're over there helping us in between rounds and getting that funny car turned around. And that's the great thing about working for Coletta Motorsports is, we have 4 cars, but it's one big team over there and one big family, and we all support each other and want to see each other go out there and win. And definitely, it's the ultimate reward to be able to give them guys the opportunity to have a mosh pit there on the starting line.
We give John Oberhofer a lot of the credit, and he deserves a lot of the credit for being the crew chief. But we were just showing a clip of the dog pile and down on the start line, and right in the middle of it is Todd Smith, a guy that's been is an accomplished crew chief in himself and helping you guys out, and has been for the last a couple of years or so. Talk about the relationship between Jono and Todd Smith and how they work together.
Yeah, Todd Smith definitely brings a lot to the table, and he's turned around our funny car operation. I mean, last year, beginning of the year, it took some time for him and Jono to get things rolling, working together, and then by the end of summer, we really got that thing turned around and kind of struggled again this summer. Then came into Indy Test with a different mindset, changed some things, and one thing that Todd is really good about is working well with the other funny car team with Nicky Bonifani and Kurt Elliott. And it shows because both cars go out there and run really close to one another now, and that's what it takes to go out there and be able to compete with John Force Racing and Don Schumacher Racing, and to be able to compete for a championship, which we think we can do now.
Hey, JR, one of the things, I mean, that always has to, that I always think about every time I see that DHL funny car is Scott Coletta. So, I mean, is there ever any extra pressure and you kind of get, the spirit of Eddie come over you ever driving that car? Because, I mean, I got a picture of him and I joking at my house, and every time I walk by it, it just makes me chuckle. Yeah,
I mean, every time you strap into that thing, you got Scott's name there on the side of it, on the windows. And it's forever his car. And I said from day one getting into this thing that I'm not trying to live up to Scott's legacy or even the guys that have driven it after him. You want to go out there and do his name right, and by winning races like the U.S. Nationals, I think that he would be really proud. I think that Eddie would be even more proud of the celebrating that we did there Monday night.
Yeah, I bet he would. That's cool.
Yeah, no question. A question outside of drag racing, and something that I didn't know until here about a month ago or so, listening to our Wing Nation show here on MRN.com, which is all about sprint cars. And at the Knoxville Nationals, which is kind of the U.S. Nationals of sprint car racing, the guy who won it, Brad Sweet, somebody asked him how he got his nickname, the Big Cat, and he said, "Oh, J.R. Todd gave that to me." How did you get Brad Sweet is one of the greatest sprint car drivers right now going in World of Outlaws? How did you end up giving Brad Sweet the nickname the Big Cat? In any comments on that? How that actually came about?
Yeah, I met Brad. Oh shoot, it was over 10 years ago when he was living out here in Indy, driving for Casey Kane back then in the USAC series with midgets and non-wing sprint cars. And I had just bought a house. I think I was driving for Morgan Lucas at the time, living by myself, and going to the sprint car races. Got to know those guys really well. And Brad just kept. I spent about a year or two as roommates and sitting around the couch watching MTV. I forget the name of the show, but one of the guys' name on there was Big Cat. So for whatever reason, we just run around the house calling each other Big Cat. And it finally stuck with him to where his crew guys and more races were calling him Big Cat. Next thing you know, they're announcing his name as Big Cat at these USAC events. And it just stuck from there. It's pretty funny how it worked out.
That is pretty funny. And another funny story. So I was at a NASCAR race last year with Felix and those guys, and I was talking to Kyle Larson. And Felix says, "Oh yeah, Doug Herbert, he's a drag racer." And Kyle says, "No, the only drag racer I know is J.R. Todd." That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle, he's my buddy. He was up here the week that we had the Indy Test and came out to the track for a little bit and hung out. And I'm actually flying down there in a couple weeks for his wedding. So nice. It's cool how get to watch these guys come up through the ranks at dirt track racing around here in Indiana and just follow their careers. And Kyle, he's one of the best in all racing right now.
No doubt.
And we'll leave you with this. Now we've got a week off, and then we head into Maple Grove. Beginning of the playoffs, this has got to give you a lot of momentum heading into the playoffs and a chance to win the championship.
Absolutely. This is my favorite time of year. I've been saying all season long that I just want to be inside the top 5 when the points reset for the countdown. And sure enough, after we won there Monday, we ended up 5th in the points, and going into Reading, that gives us a better shot at going for that championship. And it's going to be a battle between those Force cars and the Schumacher cars for sure. But we think we have what it takes to be able to go out there and compete with them. And we got Langdon locked in the countdown as well, which was big. So we're going to try and give them all that we can, and hopefully one of us has got the number 1 on the side, leaving Pomona.
Well, that car had the number 1 on it not very long ago, so you can get it right back on there. Hopefully they still got the decals in the cabinet there,
Yeah, absolutely. That's the great thing. I mean, Jono, he won a championship with the DHL guys in 2015, and Todd Smith, he's a championship-winning crew chief as well. So we definitely have the parts and pieces and the personnel to go out there and get the job done. And those guys are all experienced in doing it before, and I'm the one that I don't want to be the weak link and let them down making a championship run. So we're gonna give them all that we got and stay focused and not let up. That's for sure.
Well, J.R. Todd, winner of the Indy race this past weekend. Great job for you and that DHL Coletta Motorsports team.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it.
Driver the DHL funny car for Coletta Motorsports. That is J.R. Todd. And coming up around the corner, we will talk to the Top Fuel winner. Terry McMillen will join us next.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
Hi, I'm Rob Tanner, inviting you to the all-new America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA. The sound is updated with fresh features and more of the voices you hear at the racetrack each week. The one thing that hasn't changed? It's 2 hours of the hottest hits in country music as we get you ready to go racing. So join us for the brand new edition of America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA, at the same place right here on the Motor Racing Network.
MRN.com. Original online audio, video, and digital content. Need the latest information on each week's races? Check out the MRN.com Race Center. Need to find your local radio station for MRN original programs and Camping World Truck, Xfinity, and Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series races? Go to Stations on MRN.com. All the latest NASCAR news and opinion pieces, race schedules, driver standings, and archives of MRN programs, MRN race broadcasts, and so much more. MRN.com.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to J.R. Todd for joining us on this week's Straight Line, and joining us on the Racing Electronics Hotline right now is the driver of the Amalie Motor Oil Exterminator Top Fuel Dragster and winner of the U.S. Nationals, Terry McMillen. I'm guessing that probably has not got old yet.
No, it certainly hasn't. Thank you for having me on the show. It's just been overwhelming. I mean, so actually I had to pinch myself to make sure that it wasn't a dream. It's just so surreal.
You know what? Going to Indy, I know you've been going to that race for a long time, and just going up there for that final round. And you're thinking, man, I got a chance to win Indy here. What was going through your mind? How do you keep yourself focused on the task at hand?
It's I think the turning point for us, certainly Scott had a misfortune on E1 there, and first round, and that was it was good for us, really tough for Scott because Scott's a great guy, but doing what he had to do to stay in the top 10 or to make sure that he didn't lose that, I get it, but. We were fortunate enough to skate the car down the track there, and but I know that once we got around Steve Torrance, I knew that our chances were pretty good. And that's not saying that the other two couldn't have beat us, because they certainly could have at any given time. But I just felt that we had a great opportunity. So, watching the team put the car together and everybody doing their job and their due diligence, it was like there was just a confidence level that, was second to none. I knew that we had an opportunity. And when we finally did go around Torrance, I knew that we were not maybe as a long shot as what everybody might have thought, including me.
We were just showing a highlight of the final there. You got about a half track. You put a hole out, and then Coletta put a hole out at about almost the exact same time. So here you are, chugging down the racetrack to decide the U.S. Nationals, both of you with a hole out. The margin is 0.006 of a second. You had to have heard him all the way down the track, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It kept getting louder and louder, it seems like, as you were starting to hone in on that tone. It's like, man, he's coming, and at the end, I didn't really know who won. Eventually, my light came on, and then the celebration's on. I'm paying for it today. I still don't have a voice left, but it was worth every minute. I'd do it every day of the week if that was the case.
Terry, going into the countdown in number 7 spot, I'll tell you what, Rob Wendland has done a great job getting your team to come around. What do you have left for these last few races? Can you go out there and win another couple races? Seems to me like you can.
Well, I think we're probably peaking and probably in the best shape that we've ever been in. Parts-wise, we're sitting pretty good. And, so it's just a matter of going out today and just executing and doing the same thing that we've been doing. Don't go out there and, beat yourself. We struggled with some clutch disc issues for 4 or 5 races, and now we believe we have that reined in. And so, I think that our opportunity is pretty good when you look at it. I think Steve Torrance and myself have been in 5 final rounds. And so if we're fortunate enough to just get to the final round and the same person doesn't win the race, we could very easily have a great opportunity being a world champion. So, we're gonna just continue to do the same thing we're doing, and like I said, just run the car, run the track. Don't worry about the numbers everybody else is running. Just go out there and stay focused and make no mistakes. And if we do that, at the end, I believe we have an amazing opportunity.
You mentioned 5 final rounds, 2 wins this year, 6th in points. It's been pretty clear that you were going to make the playoffs, long before Indy, although it didn't get clinched until this weekend. So did that give you the opportunity to start stashing away the good blowers and the good clutch packs and that sort of thing, knowing that the playoffs you were gonna be in the playoffs at some point, place, or time? And have you been rat-holing some of that really good equipment for the last 6?
Heck no, man. We're using what we got. That's what we got. Hell, we just can't make a mistake. That's it.
Yeah, right.
I think, today with kind of the track prep the way it is and all that, I don't think the 60s are going to come, be the big player number anymore.
Right.
And things like that. So I think the field is certainly more level. Right now it's probably who's better at managing the track. If everybody does their job, it's still going to come down to a crew chief and managing that track, where to have the power in and where to be parking it so that you can get that run in. And I think that's what's really going to come down to. Reading will be the proof, I think, once we get there, depending on what the temperature is and all that. It can be really fast if it's cool. But even at that, I think it's just going to be like, low 70s. So I think it's just exciting times for everybody within NHRA, because you look at it, Blake Alexander, anybody can win. Scott Palmer, everybody's a lot of different people going to the final rounds, which is something that's never happened in our sport, and not being dominated by any one group of people or teams. Obviously Steve Torrance is doing a fabulous job of what he's doing, but he's, everybody else is racing it and racing the track, and I think that's the difference this year. So I'm not sure having brand new parts. Actually, I don't like brand new parts because they fail. And I break them every time I get brand new ones. The old used, worn out ones that I buy from everybody else, they work fabulous. We're already broke in and ready to go.
Well, I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, the thing is Terry McMillen's U.S. Nationals champion,
No doubt.
and that's pretty big.
Yeah.
No one's going to forget about that, and I'm sure Terry McMillen's not going to forget about that. Congratulations. What an incredible day for yourself and for your entire team. Just a great accomplishment to be a U.S. Nationals champion.
You know, it is, and it's just, you know, growing up and going there and watching the races with my boys and just, you know, it's always saying, man, someday, you know, I just like to have the opportunity to come here and race. And you know, when we made the move to the NHRA, you know, obviously we started running there, but didn't have very good success. I was in the countdown. I moved into 10th, and then by the time I got to the end of the track, broke our intake rocker arm, exploded the motor, and I was back out, and I ended up losing that year by 1 point of being in the top 10 and competing. So I haven't had good luck in Indy. But you know, just living up to our motto that persistence outweighs resistance, and we may not be the fastest, but we can wear people down.
Yeah, no question about that. Terry, thanks so much for your time. What's that?
I said you didn't have to agree that maybe we're not the fastest.
That was Marty, you know.
Yeah. No, but you have persisted and have come out on the good side of that. And there's not a lot of people that can say that. You know, I mean, we said it in the open that you were about ready to toss in the towel, but then you know, got a little bit of help, and the persistence came in, and that's what you've done. And that's I think that's an admirable trait.
Well, no, I appreciate that. Really, I was just joking with you, but it was just, you know, it's just, you know, we're just really fortunate, really blessed, and like I said, to be in the position we're in. I think we're 60 points out of number one right now because Antron and I are tied. So, you know, at 6, so it's going to be pretty cool. Just realizing that you're only a few rounds out of this thing, and you can get back in it in a hurry. So. Man, I'm ready to run all 6 races now, and let's go for it.
Well, I can tell you one thing, Terry McMillen's not a quitter, because every year we do our pancake breakfast, he's like the first guy to get there to help me in the morning and the last guy to leave. So we know about how Terry McMillen works. I got to figure out how to stop and have one of them pancakes one of these days.
Yeah, right.
They look really good when we're tossing them out, you know.
Right. Oh man, well thanks for all your help over the years with our brakes project, and we'll be looking forward to having your son come through within the next few years. He seems like he's growing like crazy.
Yeah, we're actually going to make his first pass in Reading with his junior dragster. So
nice.
At 5 years old, so we were out testing today, I guess, if you will, and trying to get it right. So he did really, really well. Pulled his parachute and all that stuff. It was pretty cool.
Awesome. Terry McMillen, congratulations on the win, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, my friends. Appreciate it so much, and thanks again for having us on the show.
Driver of the Emily Motor Oil Top Fuel Dragster and winner of the U.S. Nationals, Terry McMillen, joining us on the straight line. When we return, we'll talk a little red light and green light and wrap up another great edition of the show.
Things happen fast in racing, and if you don't know where to look, you can miss it all. With Legend from Racing Electronics, you'll never miss another moment. Legend gives you live fan vision video, in-car cameras, and stats at premier National Series events, and the next generation race scanner for unfiltered driver and crew audio at any motorsports event nationwide. Race fans have never been closer to the action. Welcome to the future of the fan experience. Learn more by visiting racingelectronics.com.
The Motor Racing Network is drawing lines every week on MRN.com. Choose the fastest line on Thursdays with the Straight Line, a nitro-fueled half-hour showcasing the biggest names on the NHRA circuit. On Fridays, take the shortest line with the Inside Line, your source for NASCAR fantasy racing insight from experts in and around the garage. Don't miss the Straight Line and the Inside Line, Thursdays and Fridays at noon Eastern, only on MRN.com.
All the dirt, winged excitement, and closest racing in America is featured each week on MRN's Winged Nation. Steve Post and our team of dirt racing experts bring you a trackside perspective on the heroes and personalities of sprint car racing. From Pennsylvania to California, the Midwest, Florida, and of course, Knoxville. Tune in to MRN's Winged Nation, presented by Sage Fruit, each Saturday on MAV TV. And MRN's Winged Nation, presented by Hercules Tires. Live Tuesdays at noon Eastern and on demand at MRN.com.
You're staged and ready for another run on the straight line. Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's Doug and Marty.
Big thanks to J.R. Todd and Terry McMillen for joining us on the straight line, and all of our guests come to you via the Racing Electronics hotline. And Doug, Racing Electronics has been a big part of what you do with the brakes people.
Sure, Racing Electronics has been, they provide the electronics for us, for all of our instructors to communicate around the, around the country and what we do at the different locations where we're running our brake schools. So the huge thanks to Racing Electronics. What they do, makes what we do a whole lot easier. So don't forget to get to a race and get your fan vision.
Yeah.
Check out the Racing Electronics trailer at every race near you.
And now is our the segment that we like to call Red Light, Green Light, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And it's playoff time. Now that we're done with Indianapolis and we've decided the U.S. Nationals winner, it's down to 10 drivers in all 4 pro categories. And we'll start with Top Fuel. Steve Torrence is on top, and then he gets a full round, and then everybody else is 10 back behind that. And so Steve Torrence on top right now, but Terry McMillen, Tony Schumacher, Leah Pritchett, Doug Coletta, even and Terry McMillen, as he said, hey, we could steal a couple, and they may not be able to win a championship, but they could dang sure ruin somebody else's championship.
Well, you just never know. I mean, he kind of told us he doesn't have all the stuff hidden away in the banks. That's going to make it hard to win a championship coming down that final stretch. But I'll tell you what, if Hart was going to win it, Terry McMillen would definitely be up there. Scott Palmer locking out the top 10. Mike Salinas, you and I were talking about that, Marty, before the show. Mike Salinas oiled the track down and was out of the top 10, then came back, got in the top 10. So a little bit of drama going there. I would say one, I don't know that it's, what you call it, but Richie Crampton in a Coletta car not getting into the top 10, I would say that's a little bit something like, wow, that's a little bit surprising.
Yeah, it is a bit surprising. Headed over to Funny Car. Courtney Force has had a stranglehold on the Funny Cars this year, but now the points reset. That big lead that she had going into Indy, that all disappears as we head into Reading. And now we have Matt Hagan, Robert Height, Ron Capps, J.R. Todd right behind her, and that's some really good company.
Well, absolutely. John Fullerson, number 9 spot, Tim Morgerson holding out the top 10, Bob Taskin not getting in, Cruz Pendergrass not getting in. I mean, this is a tough hardball. I know. Going to a sponsor and telling them, oh yeah, we didn't make it in the top 10. That's a little bit of a hard conversation to have.
Pro Stock, taking a look at this, as we mentioned, Tanner Gray keeps his lead over Greg Anderson, and right now he is the man to beat in Pro Stock. Everybody else is going to have to gun for Tanner Gray.
Well, he ran the table at Indy, no doubt about it. Louis T. Top Speed winning the race. Big, that was a big deal. And as we talked about last week on the show, the Pro Stock motorcycle points. Now that was a dogfight right down to the end. As we talked about, our last week's guest, Steve Johnson, got into the top 10 in number 8 spot. Angie Smith and Angel Sampi tied out the top 10.
Yep. Eddie Krawick, Andrew Hines on the Harley bikes. Those are the guys that are going to be that'll have the targets on their backs. But guys like Ellie Tonglet, he's a 2-time U.S. Nationals champion. He's already won a pro bike championship. He's one of the guys that you got to be watching for. I think this is probably a 3-dog race heading into Reading in a couple of weeks. Again, big thanks to J.R. Todd and Terry McMillen for joining us on this week's Straight Line. So for everybody involved, including Doug, and for Daryl, and for Brian, I am Marty. We will talk to you next week right here on the Straight Line.